Morning. For those who've just joined, please remember to put your name and surname and student number in the chats, in the comments. If you're struggling to do that, then you can also just change your name on your teams to your name, surname, and student number. Because I know the week before, I had 1 or 2 students that for some reason couldn't type into the comment box. So then you can just put your name, surname, and student number as your name on the Teams profile, your little Teams profile, and then I can just pull your register from there. Okay. All right, so I think we can get started. Oops. All right, I think we can get started. Guys, if any of your classmates are struggling to get onto the call or anything like that, and they ask you for the link, you can tell them it is on Cole Campus, or if you'd like, you can send it to them, but it is on Cole Campus, so there's no reason for anyone not to be able to find it. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so you guys will recall last week we spoke about we briefly touched on worldviews, and I sent out the document. It was also posted on Cole Campus for you guys to do on worldviews. I do hope you guys have done that. Otherwise, maybe this won't make a lot of sense. You also needed to listen to a podcast for the following lessons. All right. So just quick reminders. Remember to attend your weekly classes as you are doing now. Remember to bring your textbook to class. This is for when we do activities and things like that. Your FA1, I'm sure those of you who are on the WhatsApp group saw that we did come up with a solution to the quizzing issue with the personality type tests. I did send 2 alternatives on the group. All right. I did also share it with the other lecturers. So if you are struggling to get your results from there, or it's asking you to pay for the results, then just go into the WhatsApp group and you can use those 2 websites to do your tests. I did do them myself and they're 100% free. All right, and then obviously your experiential learning placements. I did put on the group also last week about the Arnold's thing. Guys, when you send me an email, please make sure it's actually a formal email, not hello, I am interested. That doesn't necessarily fly very well. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you can do. I need a greeting and a signing off, okay? Especially in the subject where I teach you to do these things, it looks really bad when you don't do it, okay? So I will just, when you do send me an email about that, please make sure that it is actually a proper email, because it doesn't look very good if you're not willing to write a good email for the internship. All right. Okay, quick recap from last week. Oh, sorry, let me just close this window. Obviously everyone's leaving to work in the morning, so I've got a few cars driving past. All right. So a quick recap from last week. In the previous lessons, we discussed how specific our aspects relating to knowing your personality. We were made aware of the importance and the role of self-knowledge, became aware of the role of personality in the formation of the self-concept. Remember, we saw that your personality and your self-concept are 2 different things. We were introduced to different personality tests. We briefly looked at the Myers-Briggs and the Factor 5. Those are also the ones that you'll need to do for your assignment. And then we looked at and then I said we briefly touched on the world views, but in this lesson we'll be covering this. So as you can see, this lesson will focus on worldview and how to be sensitive towards others. Okay. All right. Lesson 7 summary. This lesson you'll become aware of the concepts of worldview and be introduced to different worldviews. We're going to help you be aware of how different worldviews are formed. The lesson will introduce you to different types of values, interests, and how different values are formed. And then finally, the lesson will also teach you how to be sensitive to others when sharing their personal views on key issues that can shape or contribute to a certain worldview, such as human nature, equality of people, and individual responsibilities to the environment. This is very important, obviously, especially as we are South Africans, or at least we are working or studying in South Africa. It is a rainbow nation, so there's a lot of unique and diverse worldviews, values, and things like that, which is all influenced by the multiple cultural backgrounds that are in the country, the multiple different experiences that everyone has had in the country, and things like that. So it is very important to understand not necessarily someone's specific worldview, but to understand what yours is, and to then also be accepting and sensitive towards others. All right. So the objectives, we've kind of just gone over it. So I'm just going to highlight a few points. Let me just quickly get a little pointer out. Don't know why it won't give me a little pointer. Okay. Okay, well, it's not giving me a pointer right now. Oh. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the first one is to understand the importance of a worldview. You're going to be enlightened about the value positions or assumptions in the key elements. And then acknowledge the influence of the worldview and how they play on your interactions. You're going to have an appreciation for the value of of having different perspectives and worldviews in the classroom and workplace. And then we're going to understand that certain values may be shared across cultures, whilst other values are not shared across cultures. All right. Why is it not going to the next slide? There we go. Okay, so understanding your worldview. We all see the world differently. Obviously, this is influenced by your experience, your background, how you were raised, what you believe is right and wrong, and things like that. So we could all see the exact same situation play out. But because we've interpreted differently, we have a different belief about the people that were involved in that situation. We all have a different worldview, and that's why they say we all see the world differently. So an overview of the world is never the same as someone else's, even if we agree on most points, and that is very true. And then a worldview can be defined as the collection of our values, beliefs, and attitudes that we hold. Guys, just excuse me for a moment. I do see that there's a message coming through on our group. I just want to go and check. Unfortunately, sorry, I can't always respond to the group, especially when I'm busy in class with you guys. So I will just let that one sit. I'll respond later. All right, so in other words, worldviews are lenses through which we view the world and how we perceive particular situations. As I said, we can all see the same situation, but we'll all interpret it differently because of how we were raised, what we believe is right and wrong, our values, our cultural values, and things like that. And then knowing your worldview would help you make informed decisions, communicate effectively, and enhance your professionalism. That is very true and important. The reason being is because if you understand that you see an area where other people see it as a gray area, but you see, it's like that's wrong. It's not a gray area. Then you understand better how to communicate with it. You'll also know how better to receive people's communication in matters like that. All right. So it's kind of like knowing what is it that upsets you. It's the equivalent of that, so that you know how to communicate with people correctly, and that when they say something, you can think to yourself, well, this usually does upset me quite a bit, so maybe they're not trying to be nasty, I'm just sensitive to the topic, something like that. So it is the equivalent of that, and it can be treated in the same manner. All right, so theories of the worldview. Excuse me, just drinking some coffee. There are many philosophies of the worldviews, just like there are many theories of personalities, as discussed in the previous lesson. So in the previous lesson, we looked at Freud, we looked at Adler. I'm sure you guys remember Freud. Everyone was a bit shocked when I told you about the Oedipus and Electra complex, where it says that every young man wants to marry his mother and every young woman wants to marry her father, in the Oedipus and Electra complex. So if we look at the fact that there are so many different theories on personality, the assumption is that there should definitely be different theories on how we perceive and experience the world. Because if us as individuals are experiencing things differently and there's different theories being created about us, then why would it not relate into other things, bigger things? So the worldview comprised the following components: religion, cultural, and societal. So looking at religion specifically, religion is the aspect that deals with issues such as whether God exists, traditions we follow, and how we conduct ourselves. So for any of you that are religious, irrespective of what religion it is that you're subscribed to, you will then see, there is a usually discussion of a deity, a higher power. Maybe there's multiple, maybe it's spiritual powers, things like that. And then traditions we follow. So just for example, obviously one of the most common religions in SA is obviously Christianity. Traditions, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Easter weekend, things like that, those form part of our traditions. Okay. And then how we conduct ourselves. They are always if you look at all religions, there are these pillars of guidance on how you need to behave and treat people and things like that. And that is it's common across all religions. I've yet to find one where it doesn't really tell you how you should act or behave or treat other people. All right, so it does give you guidance in that aspect as well. All right, theories of worldview. Continuing on with that, we're looking at cultural. So cultural comprises individualistic and collective cultures, which have opposing worldviews. All right, so this is going to now look at the difference between Western, Eastern, and African. Okay. Individualistic cultures are common in France, Germany, Netherlands, and the USA. They value individual aspirations and uniqueness. Okay. So individualism is very westernized. It is a society where it's kind of like, I don't need to help thy neighbor. I don't need to think about my neighborhood. I'm here for myself. It's not one for all and all for one. Okay, that kind of thing. It's very individualistic. You focus on yourself. Then you get collective. Collective cultures are mostly common in China, Indonesia, West Africa, in favor community participation and collective democracy. All right, so for example, in SA, we do tend to embrace both, but if we look at the general, we have the term Ubuntu, which stands for solidarity, and there's obviously different variations of Ubuntu and how we can use it. But Ubuntu and African cultures in general tend to be quite collective. We believe that it takes the whole community to raise a child and things like that, and people are very concerned with their neighbors. Just silly examples that I'm bringing up, but it is actually all quite true. All right, so it's not, well, my garden is fine, so I'm not going to worry if your garden is suffering. It's kind of like, well, I've got an extra plant, would you like it? Your garden will also look nice, that kind of thing. All right, so very community orientated, but at the same time, we embrace both sides of that. So we have a community-orientated society, but if you look at our political climate and obviously our economical climate, we are a capitalist society, which is individualistic. All right. Oh, sorry, guys. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and start speaking. Because I have to minimize that window completely. Otherwise, sometimes I can't see the writing and then I have to fiddle with it. So if you have any questions or you want to add anything, just unmute yourself and start chatting. So don't stress. All right, moving on to the third one, we're looking at societal worldview. And this is embodied in the notion of conflict. So for example, examples of theorists and their theories. We looked at Charles Darwin, where survival of the fittest. So he believes if you are surviving, you're one of the fittest. Karl Marx, struggle between the classes. Not sure if you guys are familiar with Karl Marx, but he looked at the struggle between upper class and lower class and how there's classism in societies, and how that struggle will always be there. There will always be an upper class and there will always be a lower class, and things like that, and how that is one of the ways in which we progress as a society. Okay. All right. So we have established that worldviews Sorry, excuse me. Worldviews will help you make more informed decisions, communicate effectively, and enhance professionalism. So, for example, this rings true when we look at religion, first of all. If I know my religion and I'm accepting and understanding of yours, we're not going to have an issue about religion. If I know my culture and I understand how it works and how I feel and how I want to take care of everyone in my office because I'm a collectivist and I believe that we should all help out, but John and Jane in the corner are individualists, then I don't really expect them to help out, to make sure that everyone's okay in the office. So we're not going to have an issue about that. And just like societal, the sooner we can understand, for example, things like survival of the fittest, don't necessarily need to agree with it, but if you're accepting of things like that, you won't really have an issue around that, and you'll also be able to better communicate. Okay. So, firstly, we're going in the worldviews. Once we've established the worldview, it'll help us make more informed decisions. Communicate effectively and enhance professionalism. So, we can look at the transformation of the worldview does not happen instantly, of course, unless everyone could receive a mass email and agree with it. Definitely not going to happen. It happens through an ongoing process of reflection and critical questioning, and through this process, you understand your values. So, they're basically talking about how do you change your worldview? How do you get to know your worldview? It is based on reflection and questioning yourself on situations where you're uncomfortable or looking at your behavior in certain situations. All right. And then think about the following questions. So, what motivates you to take action? Is there anyone that would like to respond to that question? So when have you ever had to take action in life? What motivated it?
Hello.
Morning.
Morning. I think could say that a sense of feeling that you should. I don't know how to explain, but it's a feeling that came about that what's happening is it's wrong, and then I should actually step in.
Okay, so it's a feeling of just.
Which
Okay, thank you. That's very good. All right, so you believe in justice. So you are probably someone who enjoys collectivism because you're willing to step in and help someone else instead of just going, well, you know what, we all have struggles, so this is theirs. Good luck. So, all right, that's very good. And then someone else, have you ever questioned why you're willing to engage in certain activities and avoid others? All right, so for example, myself, certain activities I enjoy engaging with, safer activities. I know that they're not going to get me in trouble. So, because I'm very fearful of getting a criminal record, because for me it's just like that'll be the end of me. Um, so I do. I'm very cautious with things like that, and then obviously I avoid things that could possibly be seen as dangerous, not just to my physical but also to my future. So I do try and avoid that kind of stuff um, to an extent. All right. Then what guides you?
essentially,
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. My question is it safe to say that we all have a sense of justice that sometimes we suppress it depending on the situation? For example, let's say I see someone getting beaten up by someone who I assume is stronger than me. I'm
Mm.
most likely going to suppress that feeling of just because I also have the fear of getting beaten up if I see that the person who is probably getting beaten up and I want to help, the person who's beating them up is actually stronger than me. is it safe to say that we all have a sense of just, but we choose to suppress it depending on how the situation is?
Yes, 100%. That, in my view, would be seen as actually pure survival. Because the thing is, even if we believe we have a sense of justice and we are collectivists, meaning that we care very much about our community, that is perfectly fine. We also do that innately because we want to must live on. You know, we must continue on our legacy and our generation. It's wired in us as in our primitive side. You know what I mean? But you will also suppress that kind of just in community when your survival then becomes put at risk. You know what I mean? So it is very common, yes, where people will go, well, this person's already in a bad situation and I want to help, but it doesn't help that I put myself in the same position, because then my survival is then being compromised and I could, you know, then not be able to help other people or this and that. So yes, that's 100% true. It definitely gets suppressed at times. I mean, for example, how many times have you guys driven on the highway and maybe there's someone broken down? And you look and you're like, yes, I really want to stop, but you go, this is such a dangerous place to stop, and you don't stop. Because your survival gets put at risk. You know, you also think about your own safety and things like that. So yes, 100% you're spot on with that. So that's actually a very good question. I enjoy that. All right, perfect. Okay. So what guides your choices and actions? So here we go. Actually, we've just discussed it. We can look at our own survival. We can look at what we see as just or not. But at the same time, we obviously weigh it with our own benefits and things like that. Okay. When we don't weigh our own survival to an extent, that's when we start leaning into altruism. And altruism is very well displayed in Nelson Mandela, for example. He didn't help people because it made him feel good. He didn't help people because he benefited from it. He helped people because he believed it was his duty to do so, whether he was enjoying it or not. All right. So that is someone who is extremely altruistic. It's extremely rare to find individuals that are altruistic, where their choices and actions are not guided by, I like doing this, I want to do this, it's, you know, it's the nice thing to do, it's, this is my absolute God-given duty. All right. So it is very interesting when we look at people like that, and their worldviews. You know, for them it was, I don't necessarily get to do what I enjoy in life, I do what I have to do. All right. All right. And then the answers to these questions are located, are located at a part of the human called a value system. All right. Let's see if I can get this video to work today. If not, then just give me a shout. Sorry. It is very unpleasant that I can't get these going when I want. So let me just pause that. Start sharing the other page. Stop sharing. I see someone did reply in the group with the link. Thank you so much. Sorry, I just don't want to do it while I'm in class with you guys because that's not fair to you. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I did see the teacher's pet comment. I don't appreciate it. I think you're just helping me out. So thank you very much for that. Okay, guys, just give me a shout if you can't hear this, because I thought I've figured out the kinks in it. But if I haven't, just tell me. Can you guys hear that?
No.
No. You know. Okay. Well, now we're going to do subtitles. Okay. Yep, we're going to do subtitles for this video. I know, not ideal. But we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay. Sorry. All right. So I hope you guys could see. I saw I only changed the font like halfway through. Sorry about that. But I'm sure you guys could see. Okay, let's quickly go back to the activity. All right. Stopped it at the right time. Great. Okay. So, as you guys will recall, last week I asked you guys to complete the worldview questionnaire. Let me actually just pull it up for you. Oopsie. No, go back. And then we can take a look at it. Where is it? No, what happened? Okay, sorry. Stop sharing. Don't know what I was sharing. Let's see, where is it? Okay, it won't let me share the window. Let's see. Okay, can you guys see the PDF? Close that. All right, I'm going to take the silence as a yes. Okay. So last week I sent this on the WhatsApp group. It should also been put onto Cold Campus. So we're just quickly going to run through it. I'll highlight my responses. If your response is different, you're welcome to just unmute yourself and give a shout so we can discuss it. All right. Okay, because obviously because we're doing an online lesson, I wanted to have them printed, but yeah, then I'll push the activity back a week, and I know you guys don't really want that. All right. And we do still need to finish up your interview activities, so thought I'd rather just get this done this week. All right. So for each of the following statements, circle the response that best reflects your opinion on the issue. So, view of human nature. People are naturally good. I feel personally very neutral towards that. I really think it's a 50-50. I am sometimes very suspicious of people. Is there anyone that disagrees with that? Do you strongly disagree people aren't naturally good? Do you strongly agree? Do you always see the best in people? All right, we'll move on to the next one, please. Yes, you were saying?
I was also agreeing with neutral.
You also agree with neutral. Yeah, sometimes you just got to be a little bit suspicious. People don't always like it when you're suspicious of them, but it's also a protective thing. So it's nothing wrong with being a little bit suspicious.
I think I agree. People are naturally
Excuse me?
I think I agree that people are naturally good. It's just that circumstances can change certain things.
Okay, so you strongly agree.
I not strongly, but partially agree.
All right, so let's put you here to agree. There we go. All right. So yeah, we're going to see how our views already change against one another. So we've got 2 people at neutral, we've got 1 person at agree. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. View of the good life. People should just try to have fun by pursuing leisure activities and not worry about work and accomplishing great things. I strongly disagree. Is there anyone else that has the same view or different view?
I agree. I disagree.
You disagree. So you kind of, are you here?
Yes.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, perfect. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is quite a long lesson, so yeah, it's nice to hear everyone's input though. Okay. Equality with others. All humans are equal and no one should get special privileges. I strongly agree. Oh wait, I guess I kind of have to be a little bit leeway because now you start thinking about people with disabilities. That kind of thing. So is there anyone that feels different? Now that I threw in the
Neutral.
disability thing. Are you neutral?
Yeah, only because that ideally it should be the case, but realistically, it has proven not to be.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually very accurate. If we think of just basic things like our country's history, it's kind of difficult to implement. All right, now everyone's just going to have the same opportunity. So I 100% agree with that. Okay, great. I love that you guys are differing from me. It's nice. You get some people who just want to agree with everything, and I don't like it when people do that. All right, responsibilities to others. We should care for others first and worry about ourselves second. All right, that's where I stand. Anyone else?
Strongly disagree.
You strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. All right.
Neutral.
You're neutral.
Based on beliefs also, it would. And sometimes you're trying to divert from, you're trying to look out for yourself, but sometimes belief also would say that love thy neighbor as you love thyself personally.
All right. So yeah, you can actually see how our individualistic side is coming out. You see how we've all veered to the left of this. You see what I mean? Because as I said, South Africa is actually viewed as quite a collective country, but because our economical environment is very capitalist, which is individualistic, we also look at things like our own safety, our own financial situations, and things like that. So you can start to see it peer through, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. All right. So number 5, relationship between the individual and the state. Individual rights are more important than the rights of society. All right, I actually want you guys to respond to this one before I do. Let's hear it.
Disagree.
You disagree?
Yes.
Anyone else? All right, so it's interesting that you are disagreeing. The reason I say that is because if we looked at equality with others, you agreed and all humans are equal and no one should get special treatment. I mean, sorry, you were neutral, meaning that you were like, yeah, 50%, yeah, 50-50. And here you've said disagree. There's obviously a way for you to rationalize that, but it's always interesting to see how we can view different situations. Because theoretically, if you said you were neutral to that, it should have said that you were neutral to this one, or at least agreed with it, because you were on the 50-50 side, but yet you're disagreeing with it, which then leads you into your collective feeling. All right.
Okay.
So,
But here's a question.
yes.
If I think it goes on why I was neutral and why I disagree. I think they go hand in hand in terms of you can't have you can't have true equality if we're treating certain people special. Like
Yes.
if individual rights are more important than societal, that means because we're all different, we might all have a different views of what I need. So it might not even be equal at the end. So I think my neutralness and the disagreeing of number 5, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And that's why I said there's obviously a way for you to rationalize that. But if you just look at the questions and you haven't spoken to the individual and you don't understand, for example, I don't understand everyone's worldviews. I don't know you all well enough to know that, and I definitely can't assume it. But if I had to have assumed, I would have assumed you'd be neutral or agreeing on this one. You see what I mean?
Okay, no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, you spot on with your rationalization. It's always just interesting to see how people have rationalized it. And there's no right or wrong way to rationalize it because you obviously have a different perspective to me, or maybe we actually have similar perspectives. We just interpreted them differently. You see what I mean? So it's very
Oh,
interesting.
okay.
Thank you for that input there. All right. Last two questions, guys. Relationship of humans with nature. Preserving, nature is more important than using its resources to support human activity. All right, so I will start off. I disagree. Anyone else? Okay, I'll let you guys sit on that one a little bit. If you'd like to respond to it later, you're welcome to. But it is an interesting one. All right, number 7. And also, like, you can really easily be seen as a bad guy with this one, so I get it. Okay, next one. Let me just quickly change my highlights color. Sources of ethical wisdom. The truth about what is morally right or wrong is found in an objective authority and not in each individual's personal beliefs. Purely because of the industry I'm in, I have to somewhat disagree with this. The reason I say that is because I have a very good understanding of the fact that it is not always black and white. Yes, the outcome could be good or bad, but the reasoning behind why you've made the decision and that led to the specific outcome does not necessarily mean that you did the wrong thing or the right thing. You see what I mean? So that's why I definitely think that you need to be somewhat subjective into the subject, because if you're completely objective, then you're removing your emotions. You're not personally involved in any way, shape, or form. But unfortunately, life doesn't always grant us that opportunity. You get emotionally involved, especially if it comes to family or friends or anything like that. Your ability to say that was right or wrong is not going to always be objective. Yes, we can practice objectivity, but sometimes we actually need to put ourselves in those people's shoes to understand why they have done what they have done. For example, let's look at people that are severely poverty stricken. So recently they did an interview with people that steal cables. And they went and asked these people that were caught, and they said, would you rather have a job where you get paid a little bit less than what you get from stealing cables, or would you prefer to continue stealing cables? And they said they would rather have a job, even if they were earning slightly less. So that then rationalizes why they steal, all right? Because they are poverty stricken. There's no other choice for them. They don't have that opportunity. So when you look at it like that, yes, technically what they're doing isn't right. But we also need to look at the fact that they're doing this for pure survival, And if we had to be completely objective about it, we go, but it's theft, it's wrong, end of story. But then you look at also, mothers that maybe steal baby formula, things like that. Their children need that. So then you sit there and you go, okay, well, technically, yes, it's wrong, but the decision to do so isn't selfish. It's not malicious. It is to feed someone. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I tend to disagree with that. I do believe that you need to see things from people's perspective in order to truly say, is it right or wrong? You know, if you're driving a big car and you live in a nice house and you're busy stealing, 100% that's wrong, because clearly you can afford to purchase whatever it is that you're stealing. But if you are an individual that cannot afford it and you have mouths to feed, I understand to an extent. I mean, I don't believe that I believe it has a bad outcome, but sometimes that's genuinely your only choice, you know. And then it's worse because, let's say, for example, you don't steal it and your child starves, then you're a terrible parent. So it's like, you know, you really sit between a rock and a hard place. And allowing your children to go hungry is definitely viewed a lot more negatively than what it is to rather just steal something. All right, if I can just put it kind of like that. Okay, guys, perfect. So let's quickly move back into the lesson. Let me stop sharing that. Okay, if there's anyone having issues with putting their name in the comments, just remember to make your name and your surname and student number your name on on the Teams. But if you really can't even get that right, then please just WhatsApp me your name, surname, and student number. You can WhatsApp to me privately, and then I'll go and correlate, double check it with the session. Okay. So moving on, we're looking at values. Values are different from norms and beliefs. So definition for norms are rules of acceptable behavior that the majority or society follows. So it's normal to stop at a red robot, it's normal to drive at a green robot, that kind of thing. Beliefs. Beliefs are ideas that we accept as true, sometimes without evidence of their existence. Okay. For example, okay, don't take the example too seriously. Obviously, it's just something that, you know, comes up often with belief is religion. The belief that there is a higher power, the belief in a deity, whether it's God or Buddha, whatever. There's that belief. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have that evidence. Some people say yes, they do. Some people say no, they don't, but they still believe, things like that. So that is your belief. All right. So beliefs reflect our knowledge and assessment of an object or situation or person. So again, moving away from religion, you look at someone, you go, I just believe that person has bad intentions. Even though you don't really know what it is. You know when you just get that gut feeling? It becomes your belief. But you can't materialize your gut feeling. All right. Okay. So the definition for values. Values are beliefs that are fewer in number, which are difficult to change and are not linked to specific people, objects, or situations. All right. Tricky little one there, but we are going to break it down. Values are widely accepted by society as appropriate behavior. All right. So this can be looked at, how do I put it? Always being pleasant or never being malicious towards one another. You know, you value wanting the best for people. Values are developed from family, religious institutions, education, life experience, media, and peers. Values can be identified at 3 levels. The first level is personal values. These are developed through interpersonal interactions and experiences. So this is values that you will develop as an individual. Even if you're raised in the exact same household, your sibling may not really have the same personal values. Organizational values. These glean from the company where you are employed. So this could be, let's say, you really value ethical practice, things like that, because that's what they practice, or they really put a lot of time on being, a lot of emphasis on being on time, but other companies don't. So they don't really have that as an organizational value. And then finally, I don't know why it's making a little line across there. It's fine. Cultural values. These are assumed from society. There we go. Sorry. So then there's also 2 different types or sets of values. Okay, so we have the different levels, which is your personal, organizational, and your cultural. Then we also have 2 different types. Okay, values is actually quite an interesting topic once you get into it. So we have terminal and instrumental values. So terminal values are goals we want to achieve in our life and relate to end state. These are measured by instrumental values. Okay, here's a few examples. So here, if we look at terminal values, i.e. your personal goals or end states, you want a comfortable life, you want an exciting life, you want equality, you want happiness, you want freedom, maybe you want wisdom, you want mature love, you want self-respect, you want inner harmony. These are all end goals. This is something that you will acquire, okay? These are your instrumental values. This is where you're going to measure how you're going to acquire this. So are you ambitious enough to obtain a comfortable life? Are you broad-minded enough to have an exciting life? Yes, is someone speaking? Sorry? Oh, I think he's accidentally switched on his mic. All right. But if not, then, Karen, you can just speak up a little bit. All right. So that kind of thing. And then, if you want equality, are you helpful? Things like that. Okay. So here's your different sets or categories of values, and the one links into the other. All right. Looking at values across cultures. Different cultures have different value systems. I really hope you guys know this. If you don't, please take a walk around your community, expand yourself. However, there are 10 universal motivational values. Okay, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Power. This is social status and prestige. Your achievement. This is your personal success through competence according to society. Hedonism. Pleasure or gratification for oneself. Stimulation, seeking excitement and challenges, self-direction, independent thoughts and action. Then we look at universalism. Excuse me, I've said that very incorrectly. Universalism. There we go. Universalism. Understanding, appreciation, tolerance, and protection of people and the environment. Benevolence. Preserving and enhancing the welfare of your people. So very community orientated, you're not really open-minded to other communities, that kind of thing. Tradition, respect, commitment, and acceptance of cultural customs and religion. Conformity, restraining the actions that could harm others. And then number 10 is security, safety, and harmony. All right. So although some of us may not want power or hedonism and things like that, to an extent, we all have this, all right? These are the general motivations. And yes, maybe we don't rank very high on some of them. There's definitely always an underlying part of us that has that, all right? Then we look at commonly cited cross-cultural values. Individualism versus collectivism. So as I said earlier, Western societies tend to be more individualistic, whereas African and Eastern societies are more collectivism. So individualists values independence, whilst collectivists value group achievements. Is there a question? Okay. Guys, just make sure your mic is off if you're not asking a question. Sorry, otherwise I keep listening for it. Okay. Number 2 is power distance. Power distance refers to the extent which people accept the distribution of power in a global society. Okay, so here we're going to look at hierarchy and things like that. So superior power, there's a distance hierarchy, which means from the bottom to the top, it is a long way. Lower power, there's distance equal distribution, meaning everyone has a say, things like that, right? You know what I mean? Like more open planned offices. You can even see sometimes in the way the office is designed, how if they enjoy a hierarchy or if they don't, okay? So I'm sure we all have a grasp of power distance. Uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance is seen as stress that a group experiences when faced with unknown circumstances. Okay, so that's quite self-explanatory. I believe we all experience that, but it's also highly experienced within communities and cultures when they have values, all right, when they've shared values and things like that. Okay, and then number 4 is achievement, which is viewed as masculine and then nurturing, which is feminine. So we have achievement versus nurturing, or masculine versus feminine. This value is placed on money and possessions. So gender roles are differentiated, with men displaying more assertiveness and women are viewed as nurturing. Please keep in mind, this is not necessarily always true, okay? Yes, there may be a whisper of truth in it from way back when, and maybe still today in certain cultures, certain households. It's all very dependent on who you are, how you're raised, or how you choose to live. But that is basically the commonly cited cross-cultural value that we see. Okay, so it doesn't really mean too much, but it is something there, and it is something that we need to consider. All right. But it can also be viewed in very different ways. Masculine can be seen as typically just someone who is protective, wants to be a provider. Feminine can just be viewed as an individual who is typically more caring, wants to ensure that others are okay, and things like that. So in this sense, we can kind of see collectivism as feminism, well, more of a feminine trait or value, put it like that, not feminism, excuse me, that was incorrect, because it is more concerning of caring of others and things like that, and making sure that they're okay. Let me help you with your yard, that kind of thing. And masculine traits can be more, here's food, I will fight someone if they try to hurt you, that kind of thing. All right. And it can be a quality that anyone possesses, or any community possesses. Okay. Number 5. Oh, I just had to include this because I really thought it was accurate. Long-term versus short-term orientated. So if you guys know the story about the tortoise and the hare really good at sprinting, so it's kind of short-term orientated, whereas the tortoise is slow and long-term orientated. All right. So long-term orientation is geared to the future. And if you guys ever watched the story, we all realized that the tortoise landed up winning instead of the hare, even though everyone thought the hare would win. And then short-term orientation is bound to the past. Okay. So for example, if we look at the hare in the past, he's always been the fastest and this and that, and he based his behavior on the past. Okay, and on the kind of like present, what he was assuming. Whereas the tortoise knew, okay, well, I could still win. I've never raced against this individual, so there is still that chance for me. Even if I've lost against everyone else, I could still win against him. Okay, that kind of thing. So just a little cartoon there. All right, so number 6 is indulgence versus restraint. This was just a clever little picture. So, but it does, also just gives relevance to it. These connect to long or short-term views. This refers to fulfillment and enjoyment of life, ability to control or delay the desire for satisfaction. For example, let's say you really want to go out and earn money now, okay? Or someone says, okay, I'll give you X amount of money now, and then you accept it. But instead of going, oh, well, if I go and study, I'm delaying the enjoyment of earning, but I'm probably going to earn more. Okay, not saying that that's necessarily true. Might be, might not be, depending. You see what I mean? So there is that delay of pleasure that can actually reap more reward. All right, and that's also seen as a long goal. In your interests, interest can refer to the feeling of wanting to know or learn about something or someone. Interest can range from passing curiosity to something with more of a long-term appeal. So passing curiosity, you try and learn guitar once, like me, and then I realized I'm not very good at it, or actually it was just too much work. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So it never turned into a long-term appeal. Interest can include professional curiosity, your passions, and your hobbies. A focus of interest in this module is career-orientated, obviously. Okay. But in other modules, it's focused on other things. Okay, career and interests. Research has shown that many graduates enter the workplace with feelings of doubt and later end up with feelings of job dissatisfaction. Thus, it is important to know your interest, career advocacy, which help you make career choices. These include 4 elements: readiness, fit, support, and self-knowledge. Okay, this is why it's so important for people to know what it is that they want to do and to know why it is that they want to do it. For example, you get people who really hate studying accounting, but they love money, and they think that if they study accounting, they're going to earn a lot of money. And maybe they do, and they're satisfied. They don't mind doing a job that they hate because it's outweighed. Then you get individuals who study what they love. And just because you study what you love doesn't mean that you don't want money, but it's just kind of like, I'd rather be happy with doing what I do every single day than be unhappy and try and reap the reward from financial gain that isn't necessarily guaranteed. All right. Excuse me. Then moving on with career and interests, readiness refers to the skills of planning, gathering information, and evaluating it. The fit applies to one's ability to match performance required at jobs. So basically, are you job fit? Can you keep up? Support includes people such as family, friends, and colleagues. Self-knowledge is gained by asking personal and reflective questions. These are the 5 components under self-knowledge: goals, aptitudes, interests, values, and personality. These components provide a strong platform for identity suitable jobs. Okay, so note, knowing your interests motivates you to explore your true potential. All right, so exactly that. If you know what you're interested in, you kind of know what you want to do. But if you don't really know yourself, you don't know your interests, you may find yourself a little bit lost. Okay, quickly looking at personality types. So Robbins suggests that there should be a match between an individual's personality and the occupational environment, whereas Holland outlines 6 personality types and personal characteristics. So your personality types, here's just a basic breakdown of them. You get realistic, they enjoy activities and practical physical work. Investigative, they're analytical and enjoy thinking and understanding and organizing. Artistic, creative expression and lack of structure. That's not necessarily always a bad thing, don't worry. Usually emotional, idealistic, and impractical. I feel like people always take autistic as a negative one when they see emotional. It's like, doesn't mean that you're irrationally emotional, it just means you know how to feel your emotions. You may be very good at expressing them. Number 4, social. Helping and developing others is the focus of these people. Works well with others, understanding and cooperative. Then you get enterprising, usually in leadership roles, and conventional. They like structure, routine, rules, regulations, and clarity, usually unimaginative but extremely practical. Those are the people that you want involved in some businesses because they just know how to implement things. All right, that is it for this lesson. I'm going to move straight into the next lesson. So for the next lesson, I did send this on the group also. I needed you guys to listen to the Annie's podcast, and we're looking at professional and transferable skills. All right, please note that it is a lengthy podcast, so ensure that you leave enough time to listen to the entire podcast before coming to the next class. So obviously, we're about to enter into the next class. That's why I sent it on the group last week. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Sorry, let me just quickly go find the next lesson. Lesson number 8. All right. Lesson number 8. Here we go. Okay. So we are actually making very good time. Okay. Moving straight into lesson number 8. Knowing your personality. Here we're going to focus on pages 60 to 69 in your guys' textbook. Just a note, guys, again, for those of you who haven't looked at my recording, maybe you weren't in for the briefing session, anything like that, please note how it says chapter 2 of 7. Okay. In your brief for your assignment, it says Calvin. Please note that referencing is incorrect. It is not Calvin, it is Sivan. So please do not copy that referencing, all right? If you do, it's gonna be incorrect referencing, okay? So just a heads up on that again, all right? I don't want you guys to copy the one off of the brief. Go and check your textbook when you're referencing it. All right. So a quick recap. Worldviews are lenses through which we view the world and how we perceive situations. The worldview comprises the following components: religion, cultural, and societal. Values are widely accepted by society as appropriate behavior. Values cross culture, they're different. Cultures have different value systems. And then, are you already noticing a difference or even an important improvement, in the quality of any of your personal and or professional relationships now that you have an improved understanding of different worldviews and value systems? Obviously, we've just done it. If you're noticing a difference, that's incredible. If not, yeah, we have just finished that lesson. But I do think that you guys will get a better grasp of things, even if we just looked at how some of my opinions differed from other people's opinions just on that quick little activity. And I mean, there was only 3 of us that were giving our views, all right? Okay, moving on to the objectives for this lesson. We're going to understand the importance of having both professional and transferable skills, very important. Have the ability to observe and identify professional and transferable skills in others, become enlightened about their own professional and transferable skills they need to further develop and improve upon. We're going to look at the SMART model, okay? That is for your assignment, so please take note of that. And understand what SMART goals are, and then understand the time frames related to goal setting and development. Okay, those last 3 points, very, very important to your assignment. Actually, this whole lesson, because you also look at transferable skills and things like that, okay? So take note. Knowing your skills. Professional development of skills has become increasingly important in the knowledge-driven world we live in. Obviously, because everything's changing so quickly, we need to know that you can keep up. Thus, it is important to know and enrich your skills to sustain your value and relevance in the workplace. Ensure that the knowledge and skills are relevant and apply them effectively. Key professional skills in learning situations. So professional skills, you get your personal, that's your studying and your reading. Conferences and seminars, look at writing papers, presentations and research. Collaboration, very important. You need to be able to do all of these, by the way. Discussions and conversations, practical applications, external work, which means outside of your organization. If you don't understand something, go home, read up about it, inform yourself. Studying further, courses and distance learning. Guys, if you ever get offered a course from your work, take it. Take it. It is free studying. And at the end of the day, if you leave them, you still leave with that qualification and that education. And then conceptual understanding. Transferable skills and abilities. So there are 7 transferable skills that are considered important in any job or career. These include communication, critical thinking, creativity, leadership, teamwork, technical ability, and multitasking. You guys will note how important it is to have all of these. If you lack on one, but severely lack, yes, we don't all need to be leaders. We don't all need to be team players, but you need to still know how to do it to an extent. It will make work extremely challenging because of the kind of work environments that we are promoting. Our generation is trying to move away from the old school hierarchy, which means that it's going to be more communication orientated and open thinking. It's not just, I can just do my job and that's fine. That's what works in hierarchy organizations. You just do your job and that's it. You don't need to help other people or anything like that. Whereas what in the work environments that our generation is trying to push, we are looking at moving away from that hierarchy, because even though it sounds great to just do your job and that's it, it also doesn't benefit us always. We can't contribute to big ideas. We don't receive acknowledgement on our ideas and things like that. It's kind of like, well, you just did your job, so what's the big deal, that kind of thing. And it's also very difficult to be promoted within those industries and things like that. All right. So transferable skills and abilities. We've just gone over them. We're quickly going to give you some definitions. Communication skills, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Very important. Remember, guys, for your assignment, we're also looking at your listening skills. Okay, I think we're doing that next week, but it's also for your assignment. Okay, so pay attention to those. Critical thinking, systematic approach to reveal relevant issues using problem-solving skills and logic. We're going to cover that with the SMART goal model in this lesson. Creative skills, use of critical thinking to transform an idea into working reality. Very, very good. Can you implement the idea that you've created? If you can, you're onto something. If you can't, start working on that ability. Leadership skills: taking responsibility, initiative, goal-driven, and building good interpersonal relationships. Not everyone wants to be a leader. Not everyone wants to kind of take that responsibility of managing other people and things like that. But to an extent, you will need to do that, whether it's managing a team on a show or anything like that. It's just depending on how you choose to go about it, whether or not you'll enjoy it. Number 5, teamwork skills. Working well with others, displaying respect, participation, problem-solving, collaboration, and delivery. That is very important. As I said, our generation is moving away from hierarchy. We just do your job and that's it. If we look at how often, I'm sure in your guys' degree, you've seen how they kind of promote teamwork and things like that, group activities. I know by the time you guys get to final year, you're tired of hearing group assignments and things like that. But it's done for a reason, because entering into the workplace, you're going to work with a team, whether it's a team with someone who you report to, whether it's a team with someone below you, whether it's one of your horizontal colleagues, anything like that. You are going to end up working in a team. Technical skills. Current developments requires you to stay on top of the ever-evolving technological world. That is very, very important. Obviously, with everything changing so quickly from one week to the next, quite literally lately, we do need to keep up with that. Multitasking. Being able to do more than one task requires being organized, planning, and establishing priorities. So when we talk about multitasking, we don't just say, can you stir your cup of coffee and write an email at the same time? No, we mean you've got 3 projects running at the same time. Are you able to complete them? That kind of thing. It doesn't mean you literally need to do two things at the exact same time. It means, are you able to complete things that are running parallel to one another? Are you able to do your assignment for my subject and for that subject, and they all due on the same week? Can you do that? All right. I think that's also why they give you guys like that submission week where all your assignments are due, because it teaches you these multi-tasking skills, which is very important. I know people don't always see the value of it while they're in it, but in hindsight, it all makes sense. All right, personal goals. Personal goals refer to your personal growth. These include physical and spiritual, personality, social, financial, and intellectual development. Identify goals and an action plan to achieve these goals. Creating goals. Okay, guys, very important, very much related to your assignment. I believe it is question 2 of your assignment. It's basically where that table is. Guys, also remember, if you have any questions about your assignment, please WhatsApp me. All right. And I don't mind an email. I'm just not a fan of email. It takes too long to respond to you, and then I'm only checking it like once or twice a day. It was on my phone. It's always with me. Okay. Creating goals. Goals that are written down or stated have a high chance of being achieved. Follow the SMARTER structure to achieve your goals. So SMARTER. I don't know if you guys ever watched Futurama, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor and go watch Futurama and go see this guy. It's very funny. Okay. So SMARTER. S stands for specific. You need to be specific about your goal. M stands for measurable. Can I measure it? Meaning, my goal is to, let's say something silly, grow my hair longer. How am I going to measure that? With a ruler and centimeters. Great. Attainable. Is it realistic for me to want my hair to grow longer? Obviously, guys, I'm just using a silly example, but it's just also easy. Yes, it is obtainable, because my hair will grow, but I need to make sure that I'm nourishing it to grow. Is it relevant? Let's say the person making this goal is a hair model. Yes, it is relevant to them because they will get more jobs because of it, because then when they go for a specific shoot and they cut their hair, then their hair won't be too short for the other jobs, that kind of thing. Is it time bound? All right, meaning, do I have to grow my hair 10 centimeters within a month? That's problematic. But do I think that's realistic for a year and a half or 2 years? Yes. So what is the time frame in which I want to do this in? Evaluated. Can I go back and evaluate on it and see what my progress is? How will I measure this? Am I going to measure my hair once a week? Am I going to measure it once a month? And then reviewed. All right. So, There's just some more information on that. All right. So specific. Goals should be specific rather than vague. They need to be very specific, especially in your assignment. Be as specific as you possibly can be. All right. Don't be vague with it, because then I can interpret your plan as being completely irrelevant to your goal, but for you it will make perfect sense. So you need to be very specific. Measurable. These enables your goals to be achievable and more tangible. All right. Again, if you're the more specific your goal is, the more better you'll know how to measure it. Okay, if it's to finish another certificate, okay, the measurability of it is passing all the subjects within the certificate and then obtaining it. Attainable or achievable. These include skills, knowledge, resources, and attitudes needed to meet these goals. All right. So if you say you want to go become a pilot, but you don't have access to a plane or to a simulator or anything like that, is it attainable? Is it achievable? No. But if you do have that, then you can say, yes, it is attainable and achievable because I've signed up with the flight school, I have a flight simulator, I'm renting out a plane to do my hours, I have an instructor, it is obtainable. Relevant. This considers whether the goals matter to you or not and how it fits in your current future. So when you guys are doing this in your assignment, think about kind of like what job it is that you want, okay? And you're going to work on how these goals are going to help you with that job, in your job, or anything like that. Or if you want to be an entrepreneur with what you're studying, focus in on that, okay? Make sure that you tell me, this is relevant to me because I want to become a pilot, okay? I'm just studying this so that I can also do the media marketing for the airplane I'm going to fly, or whatever. Something silly example. But you see what I mean. Make sure that it is relevant and it fits within, and you can actually discuss that, because you guys need to actually write little discussions in there for me. You can't just give me bullet points and be like, all right, I want to work on this. That's my time frame. All right, I'm going to do this course. Yes, it is relevant. There we go. All right, I need you guys to discuss it. Is it time bound? Your goal should be time bound and have a deadline. That's very important, because if it has a deadline, it'll actually give you that push. Because you know when you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Like you really want to do something, but you don't have a timeline on it, or you don't really give yourself a deadline. The likelihood of you getting to it is very rare. Evaluate it. Is it important to evaluate? It is important to evaluate your goals, Celebrate reaching small milestones to ensure you remain on track, all right? So basically saying, once I finish 100 hours of my flight school, I'm going to take myself out for dinner, and I'm going to evaluate my progress, this and this and this. I can reset my goals, that kind of thing. And then reviewed. Update your goals based on what you have learned or achieved. Okay, so that'll come with your evaluation, basically. I started this, I'm doing quite well, but I really don't enjoy it. So maybe now I need to look at, am I going to finish this and then try and use it in a different manner? What is it? Okay. All right, so we have a class activity here. I do know it says that in groups, but we'll just quickly do it as like a general chat with us, and then we can move on to the illustrations and things like that. Probably next week. I will let you guys know on the group if that's okay. But I do hope that you guys listened to the podcast. So in groups, students draw on their notes of the podcast episode to do the following. Use the markers and flip chart sheets to illustrate and provide practical examples of where Anne Walsher, firstly, employed a professional and transferable skills, and then secondly, made an active attempt to improve on professional and transferable skills that she felt she lacked and have not fully developed. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put you guys into little conference rooms, just randomly assign you into groups. And then you can chat about it and then get back to me. All right. Okay. I'm going to create the rooms for you guys. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. How does that sound? Yeah, I think 5 minutes are good. So you can just chat about the podcast, and then you guys can start giving some feedback afterwards. All right. Okay. I'll see you guys now. Had some trouble creating the rooms. Hold on. Let me just try and get this right. All right, so I see that there are 2 or 3 of you in the room with me. I'm going to leave you guys to chat. Oop. I know, it looks like everyone has left me. I know, now you're back. Okay. I will give you guys a chance to chat in your rooms. I'll give you 5 minutes. Hi guys, for those who just joined, if you haven't been assigned, you can just chat in this normal group. Everyone else has been put into groups, so don't worry, you can just chat on here. I'm sure you can see what it is that you need to talk about with regards to the podcast, and then I'll bring you all back in and then we'll chat about it openly. Okay. Hi, yes, I see you have a question. Oopsie. Okay, guys, I'm going to close the groups. Okay, I'm just busy closing the groups. Just give it a minute for everyone to join back into the big chat. You can switch off your mics for now, and then we will get chatting again.
What is happening?
I put you guys into chat rooms to discuss the podcast, and now I'm taking you out of them. Sorry, you guys, if I do know a few of you were kicked out, I'm not too sure as to why. Maybe it was a connection issue, but that's perfectly fine. All right. Okay, can you all see the lesson? Okay, so in your groups, you had to speak about firstly, based on the podcast, how she employed her professional and transferable skills, and then secondly, how she made active attempts to improve on her professional and transferable skills that she felt she lacked or have not fully developed yet. Okay, so I know it says here for 1 minute each, but obviously there was 5 groups, so I think we can just have an open discussion about it. Don't need one person from each group. We can have however many from each group discussing it. So let's discuss the first point. I'm going to give you guys the open floor so you can just go ahead and start chatting. Just make sure you're not really overlapping with someone else, but if you do interrupt, it's perfectly fine. It is obviously a bit challenging if we are like this. You can put your hand up and then the first person will speak, and then once they're done, then if you're next in line, you can then start speaking. All right, so you can just put your hand up on the chat. Okay. So the first question is, employed or professional and transferable skills. Okay, you guys can go ahead and chat for a bit. I want to hear your points. All right, I will then start liking your comments and then you will chat. Okay, so let's start from the top. So basically I'm going to start assigning you guys now. Okay, So here we go. Sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. I'm not very good with pronunciation. Kutso, if you can please give us your view. Okay, guys, I'm going to start assigning people. Okay, I'm going to pin you. I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and then you must start speaking. All right. All right. If you're in the spotlight, you can start speaking. Mpo, are you there? Okay, next person is in the spotlight. Bukang. Okay, guys, I need you guys to speak up a little bit. Okay, guys, I need you guys to start chatting. Unmute yourself. All right, should we move on to the next question maybe? Is there anyone that can't hear me? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, the next question is how she made active attempts to improve on the professional and transferable skills that she felt she lacked or have not fully developed yet. Is there anyone that can contribute to this? Is there anything? Okay, so if you guys are responding to my chats, then respond to my questions, please. Thank you for responding. Okay, so we are going to run out of time, but I'm going to take this as no one listened to the podcast. I did get a message from one student now saying that they only stopped listening to it now. Ideally, guys, when I send these things in the group, I do try and prep you for the lessons the following week. So we basically try and give homework once a week. Okay. So it's just some class prep. It'll really help. And doing this, it basically allows you to finish up your assignment as we go along the classes. Okay. So I'm going to have to move on. But please do listen to that podcast because you're going to have to listen to it for next week or so. All right. So now you all have a fair warning. Okay. Please go and listen to the podcast. Okay. Let's move on. All right. So your activities. You're going to formulate personal and professional goals. So using the worksheet on page 65 of your textbook, this is going to give you an idea of how to formulate your personal and professional goals. I need you guys to complete activity 2C on page 66 of your textbook. Here you're going to analyze scenario in terms of the SMART criteria using the table provided. What I will suggest is, please complete this activity, but do so with your assignment in mind. So you can basically do the activity and you will be finishing an entire question for your assignment, all right? So please go and do that. That is very important, okay? Moving on to knowing your professional key characteristics. Goals set out for your work life are called professional goals. Goals are generally classified according to 3 time frames. So this is also important for your assignment. When we talk about time frames and deadlines and things like that, you can include, is this a short-term goal? Is it an intermediate term goal? Or is it a long-term goal? Include that. There's a marking criteria for us to mark that you've said that. Hint, hint, hint. The golden nuggets. Okay. Please include that in your assignment discussion. So building onto the goal length. So short-term goals, let's say the goal is to pass a particular course. So your time frame will be a few months. Because you guys are final year students, you know when your course is going to end, if it's a first semester subject or if it's a year subject. So if you're talking about a specific subject and it's a year subject, give more or less the date when your degree will be ending. You know, you guys should all be done with all your assignments and everything in November. All right. So mention things like that. Your intermediate goals. This will be earning your degree, diploma, or certificates. That can be seen as a few year goals, okay? And then long-term goals. This can be orientated around building a career. This can take a few decades. So you guys can also look at things like that. You can mention these things, all right? Okay, key characteristics of professional goals. So you need to create a plan, motivate yourself. You need to go into visualization, all right? An interesting thing is a lot of the time when you visualize yourself in that role or having achieved that goal, you're more likely to be motivated to get it. I dare to say this, but I used to do that all the time when I was still applying for the degree that I'm studying now. I used to think like, geez, imagine I get to, become that or, that kind of thing. And it definitely helped me a lot, especially when I realized I could do it. If you can see yourself in that position or achieving that, you genuinely can. I know it sounds very spiritual or manifestation and things like that. But for me, it's more prepping yourself, your brain. It's prepping yourself for that position, prepping yourself for sitting for long hours or whatever the situation is. Okay. And then overcoming that fear. This is something I've actually kind of noticed with my past students. So, for example, on my WhatsApp, I have a group called Job Opportunities for all my past students. And whenever I see a job post or anything like that, I share it on there. And then, when was it? It was Wednesday last week or Thursday morning. Yeah, it was Thursday morning last week. I'd shared a few. And one of my students said, these roles are all asking for 2 years of experience. Like, we don't have that. We've only just graduated. And I said to them, you know what? What does it matter? If you don't apply, you're never going to get that job. But if you apply, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to say, well, you don't have enough experience for us. And their fear overshadowed the fact that the one position that I posted for social media management said that the highest qualification that you needed to apply for that position was to have a matric. I sat there and I was like, you guys all have degrees or diplomas. Like, that can be seen as experience for them. You are already a step ahead of every other candidate that they're willing to take. You know what I mean? So I noticed that self-doubt almost because I don't have 2 years experience. But they're saying that you only need a matric to do it, and yet you guys are sitting here with your degrees. You know what I mean? So overcome that fear and be flexible. Be willing to, maybe start out on a project that doesn't pay too well and things like that. Be flexible because that's what's really going to get you out there. The more you interact, the more you network, even if it's not the best paying job or position or anything like that, you're going to network and you're going to interact with individuals that want you. And they are going to then say, what do we need to do to have you? That kind of thing, all right? But that also relates to your goals. Overcoming your fear of applying, overcoming your fear of actually sitting down and doing it, that kind of thing. Okay. All right, guys, so more homework. I am going to share this on the group after the lesson, just like a little summary of what I need you guys to do. And it might come with some accompanying voice notes, so just prepare yourself. So homework for next week. I need you guys to complete activity 2C on page 66 and 2D on page 70. These are all in your textbook. I will send this again on the group. All right. So don't stress if you think you're not going to remember it. Okay. And then here is a little video. We're going to have to do subtitles again. I will slow the video down and then I'll make the subtitles a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it. Okay. Let me just quickly pause. Settings, subtitles, English, great. Playback, we're going to drop it down a little bit. Okay, let me just quickly share the page with you guys. Oh, did it say I'm not sharing my screen? Oh, you guys should have said something. Sorry. As I said, like if you want to say anything, you must just unmute yourself and start chatting because I do minimize the window so I can't see. Okay.
Regardless.
Ma'am, I think the sound is off.
Oh yeah, so unfortunately for some reason when I play the videos, there's no sound. So that's why I put the subtitles on and I slowed the video down so that you guys can just read along. I'm so sorry about that. I know it's not the most ideal thing. But yeah, you can always just go back and watch the videos by yourself. But it's just so those who don't really have a chance can just read through the subtitles. Sorry about that, guys. I'll do it now. I'm just in class. Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, as I said, sorry about that, guys. For some reason, whenever I share, it doesn't give the sound. So that's why I have to put the, oh, I can't even think of the word right now. The captions at the bottom, sorry. All right. So as I said, you guys can go and rewatch this, but everything that was discussed is thoroughly discussed in your textbook on the SMART goals. So yeah, definitely go take a read on that. All right, guys, we are actually coming to the end of our lesson. So in the next lesson, we're going to focus on managing your strengths and weaknesses, time and stress in the workplace. We're going to listen to the same podcast again, and it'll be our key input for next week. So obviously next week we're going to be in class, so be prepared for a little bit of a discussion. So listen to the episode again and make notes on Annie's strengths and weaknesses, her time and stress management abilities and techniques. And then please bring your notes to class. Okay, guys? So same podcast. I assume a few of you forgot to listen to it. It's fine, it happens. Ideally, please avoid that. That's why I do send it on the group. But I will send all the homework again on the group for next week. Okay, so please be prepared for that. So what to prepare for next week for both lessons, okay? Again, I'm going to send this on the group. So you guys will need to prepare the podcast with your strengths and weaknesses notes. It also has your time and things like that. And then I need you guys to bring an article of an admired leader, okay? So request that each student brings to class a newspaper article, magazine article, or an online article of an individual in any leadership position that you admire. So when we say any leadership position, we mean it could be a political individual, could be a human rights activist, it could be someone local. It really doesn't matter as long as you admire them as a leader and how they've gone about it. So this article is going to form a very critical part of your guys' next lesson, so please make sure you bring that. All right. So as I said, I will post this on our WhatsApp group, but please do not forget, okay? It is very important. All right, guys, and that is the end of our lesson for today. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to stick around and ask them. But if you don't, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I will see you next week. Thank you for the lesson. It actually went quite smoothly. Apart from everyone who got kicked out. I'm sorry about that. I will try and get better at it. All right. But you guys must enjoy your day. Goodbye.